What kinds of activities do we fill our days with? Especially during a pandemic and stay-at-home orders, it is easy to feel trapped and tired of one's normal activities. How much TV can one watch, or how many puzzles can one solve before it gets old? Dungeons and Dragons, abbreviated as D&D, is a role-playing game and a great option that you may not have thought of. It is exciting and imaginative, and it's a game that can be as light or as intense as one wants to play it. You can play in a classical medieval fantasy world, a high magic setting with fairies and witches at every corner, a tactical puzzle-solving game, or make up your own kind of whimsical creatures and landscapes to play in. As an infinitely customizable and rewarding game, Dungeons & Dragons is a game everyone should consider. Today, I am going to go over 3 reasons why you should give D&D a try. First, D&D has a low barrier of entry. Second, D&D can help you develop social skills and long-lasting relationships. Finally, you should give D&D a try because it is a game that by its very nature is adaptable to anyone's interests and imagination. The first reason you should give Dungeons & Dragons a try is because it is an easy game to get started. D&D doesn't require a lot to start playing. 2 misconceptions about D&D is that you need a lot of people and that it takes a lot of equipment to get started. This is absolutely not true. You can play D&D by yourself, either by creating characters in a world or by just playing alone. Or you can play with family and friends. Before the pandemic, you could even play with other fans of the game at local game stores, and some of them are even offering virtual D&D games if you want to play with other strangers. You need a lot of materials is another misconception about D&D. According to Emily Heller's Polygon article, A Beginner's Guide to Playing Dungeons & Dragons, one of the great things about D&D is that you only really need a copy of the rules, some pencils and paper, a set of dice, and your imagination. An official PDF of the basic rules is free online, and if you don't own dice, you can just use virtual dice on a phone or on a computer. There are also many free adventures, character sheets, and supplementary material online. Memberships to Roll20, a website where you can play D&D virtually with others, are also completely free. Second, Dungeons & Dragons can help you develop social skills and build meaningful relationships. Playing D&D really exercises one's social skills. In her research paper, Using Dungeons & Dragons to Integrate Curricula in an Elementary Classroom, UCLA researcher Alexandra Carter lists a couple of social skills that are used while playing D&D. Skills such as negotiate decisions with teammates during gameplay, support team members, compromise and allow other members of the group to share equally. There's also a huge feeling of teamwork in Dungeons & Dragons. As writer Ethan Guilford says in his TED Talk, how playing Dungeons & Dragons has helped me be more connected, creative, and compassionate. By playing D&D, you get to be part of a team. He goes on to say, each person in the circle contributes. D&D's lessons are, celebrate your differences, it's okay to rely on each other, I've got your back. It's a game that is incredibly individualistic and unique, and at the same time allows for opportunities to connect with people globally. According to the Washington Post article, How Dungeons & Dragons Somehow Became More Popular Than Ever, 40 million people play D&D worldwide. Finally, the third reason you should try D&D is because it is infinitely customizable and has no bounds. Simply put, you can play it however you want to play it. Some people might have heard that D&D has too many rules. Yes, there are rules in D&D. However, you do not have to memorize them. at all, nor do you have to abide by them. D&D is fantastic because if you start playing and you're not enjoying any aspect of it, you can modify it so that it is more fun for you. As Emily Heller says in her Polygon article, you could play a serious by-the-book campaign or play silly and loose with the rules. Everything is built from imagination and in collaboration with others, so if something isn't working for you, you can customize it to your liking. Anybody can play D&D. The other misconception about D&D is that if you want to play, you need to be nerdy or deeply interested in medieval fantasy, which is completely false. Anybody who is interested can play. I played with so many different kinds of people. An opera singer, my 13-year-old niece, my sports-loving brother, video game fanatics, band members. Dungeons & Dragons promotes such inclusivity that LGBTQ+ representation was even written into the core rulebook. The diversity of D&D podcasts also highlights how many different kinds of people play the game and in how many different ways. There are D&D podcasts that are goofy and heartwarming, like The Adventure Zone, others that feature long and epic campaigns, like Critical Role, all-female D&D groups such as Girls, Guts, and Glory, or even a father-themed game, like the podcast Dungeons and Daddies. No matter if you want to play a spooky game of D&D or if you're all about the jokes while adventuring, you can make your Dungeons & Dragons experience anything you want it to be. There is a reason why Dungeons & Dragons has lasted this long since its invention in 1974. This game requires active engagement. It's fun and interesting at all levels. Next time you consider what kind of activity you want to be a part of, why not pick something that will work your imagination, your problem-solving skills, something that is fun and social, and where difficult situations are rewarding. Dungeons & Dragons is all of these things. I highly recommend that you give Dungeons & Dragons a try. Thank you.